When I first turned off the highway onto the long dirt road that led to my new home, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, peace. After a lifetime of noise, stress, and dealing with people who had too much time and too many opinions, I was finally free. I had bought 5 acres outside the nearest town, right beyond the jurisdiction of the dreaded HOA. No more random fines, no more complaints about the color of my door, no more Karen types knocking at my window about imaginary violations. This land was mine. The house was mine. And for the first time, life felt like it was starting fresh. The moving truck arrived an hour after I did. The breeze was cool. The sound of a nearby creek was calming. And I stood there imagining all the things I could finally do without restrictions. I could build a workshop, keep chickens, paint my house neon orange if I wanted, though I wouldn't. Freedom felt good, maybe too good. But I should have known peace doesn't last long when a Karen is nearby. I noticed her long before she noticed me. A white SUV crawled slowly down the dirt road, stopping every few feet, like she was checking for something. She had that unmistakable haircut, the one that strikes fear into customer service workers everywhere. Her sunglasses were enormous. Her lips pursed, so tight, they practically disappeared. Without even meeting her, I knew what she was, trouble. She drove right up to my gate, as if she owned the place. Then, without hesitation, she parked, got out, and strutted toward me as I unloaded boxes from the truck. "Excuse me," she barked. "You can't be here." I blinked, confused. "Oh, what?" "This is HOA property," she said sharply. "No one moves in without approval, and I haven't received any paperwork. That means you need to pack up and leave immediately." I stared at her, stunned. "Ma'am, this is not HOA property. My land is outside the boundary." She let out a dramatic, mocking laugh. "That's what everyone says before they try to break the rules. I'll need your name, your ID, and your permit to move in." I placed the box down slowly. "I don't need a permit to move into my own house, and I don't need to give you anything." Her eyes narrowed, like she couldn't believe I had dared to speak to her like a normal human, instead of a frightened peasant bowing before her royal HOA authority. "I am the acting president of the Maple Creek Homeowners Association," she said, lifting her chin like she expected trumpets to play behind her. "If you do not comply, I will fine you, file a complaint, and have you removed." I couldn't help it, I laughed. Not loud, but loud enough for her to hear that I wasn't taking her seriously. "You can't fine me," I said calmly. "I'm not under your HOA. The boundary line ends half a mile down the road. Check your own map." For a second, pure confusion crossed her face, like no one had ever challenged her rule. She stepped back, pulled out her phone, and started tapping aggressively. Then she froze, her eyes widening. She looked up at me, then back at her screen, then back at me again. Her voice was quieter now, tinged with disbelief. "You really aren't under the HOA." "Nope," I said cheerfully. "Free land, free man." She didn't smile. "That's impossible," she mumbled. "Nobody lives out here without HOA approval." "Well," I said, picking up another box, "I guess I'm the first." Most people would have left at that point, but Karen was no normal person. She wasn't used to being wrong, and she sure wasn't used to letting things go. She turned, marched back to her SUV, and screeched away with dust kicking up behind her. I shrugged it off and continued unpacking, thinking she would get over it eventually. But I was wrong, so very wrong. That night, I was sitting on my porch with a mug of coffee, watching the stars, when I heard tires crunching on gravel. I looked over and saw headlights approaching. My stomach tightened when I saw it was her SUV again. Karen stepped out with a stack of papers in her hand. "I checked with the county," she announced like she was delivering a verdict. "You may not be under the HOA, but your property affects our community. We have standards to uphold." I raised an eyebrow. "Standards?" "Yes. And your house," she gestured dramatically toward it, "does not match the architectural style of Maple Creek." I stared at her. "Karen, I built this house exactly the way I wanted. It doesn't have to match anything." She waved her stack of papers like a weapon. I drafted a list of recommended changes. Minor things, like repainting the exterior, changing the fence, removing your porch swing, and cutting down 2 of those trees. They're an eyesore. I almost choked. An eyesore? Those trees are older than both of us. She took off her sunglasses, even though it was night. If you don't comply, I'll take this to the county planning board. I burst out laughing. Go ahead. They'll tell you the same thing I did. You have no authority here. She stood there silently, furious, trembling like her entire identity was collapsing. Finally, she stomped back to her car and drove away. But she didn't give up. Over the next few days, she did everything she could to try to force me out. She parked outside my driveway taking pictures. She complained to the sheriff 3 times. She sent drones over my land, which I shot down with a BB gun. She even tried to convince my nearest neighbor that I was a threat to the community. He laughed in her face. But the real breaking point came a week later. I woke up early, grabbed my coffee, and stepped outside and froze. Karen was standing on my front lawn. Not at the gate. Not on the road. On my lawn. Morning, she chirped, smiling way too wide. I decided to do a surprise inspection. I set my coffee down before I dropped it. You need to leave. Now. Oh, please, she said, waving me off. Your property is visible from HOA land, which means your choices directly impact property value. And I noticed your grass is half an inch higher than Maple Creek guidelines. I had enough. I pulled out my phone and recorded the entire thing. She immediately panicked. Why you can't record me? I can, I said calmly. You're trespassing, and now you're harassing me. Her face went pale. She started stuttering excuses, but I pointed toward the gate. Leave, before I call the sheriff. She finally scrambled off my property. Her bravado shattered. But this time, something changed. She didn't come back. For 3 whole days, I didn't see her SUV. No emails. No complaints. No drone. Nothing. I should have known silence was a warning. On the 4th day, I heard rumbling engines. I walked outside and saw 3 HOA board members approaching in golf carts, with Karen leading them like a general marching into battle. She pointed at me dramatically. There he is. The man refusing to follow community rules. One of the board members, an older man with a tired look, sighed deeply. Karen, we checked the maps. He doesn't live in our jurisdiction. We can't do anything to him. Karen spun around, shocked. What do you mean, we can't do anything? He's ruining the aesthetic. It's his property, he said. We have no authority. None. Karen looked like she was about to explode. Her face turned so red, she could have powered a generator. You can't just let him live here like this, she screamed. The man rubbed his forehead. Karen, please. Let it go. But she didn't let it go. She turned back to me, pointing a shaking finger. This isn't over. I'll find a way to make you leave. You'll see. The board members left, embarrassed for her. I watched them go, wondering what she would try next. Turns out, she tried something big. The next morning, I woke up to construction noises. I walked outside to find a crew of workers putting up a wooden fence right across the road leading to my driveway, blocking me in. I rushed over. What are you doing? One of the workers shrugged. HOA told us to install a perimeter fence. You can't block my access. I shouted. Talk to them, the worker said. We're just hired. My blood boiled. This was it. She had gone too far. I drove straight to the sheriff's office. When I explained everything and showed the videos, the sheriff's eyes widened. You have any idea how many complaints we get about Karen? He muttered. Then he stood up. Let's go handle this. We drove back to my property with lights flashing. Karen was there supervising the construction, like she was building the Great Wall of China. The sheriff stepped out. Karen, he said loudly, move the fence. She spun around in shock. Sheriff, thank goodness. Arrest him. For what, he asked. For violating HOA rules. The sheriff let out a long, exhausted sigh. Karen, he doesn't live in your HOA. You know this. And now you're blocking a public easement road. That's illegal. Her jaw dropped. Illegal? No. I'm doing what's best for the community. You're trespassing, the sheriff said. And so is your construction crew. Move the fence, or I'll start writing citations. Karen tried arguing. She tried crying. She tried screaming about community standards. But in the end, the fence had to come down. The crew packed up. The sheriff gave her one final warning. And Karen stood there trembling with rage, watching everything fall apart. That was the last day she ever bothered me. She still drives past sometimes, glaring like I destroyed her sense of purpose. But she doesn't step foot on my land again. I sit on my porch now, watching the sunset with a smile. Freedom tastes even sweeter when you've earned it by surviving a Karen. And every time her SUV slows down near my driveway, I just lift my mug and wave. Because nothing annoys a Karen more than knowing she lost.